Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Welcome to Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Child Abuse Awareness with Darlene J. Clark. Be a part of the solution instead of part of the problem. Hey, Charles, do you have the YouTube part shut off?
The YouTube.
Yeah, I
You're in
Um,
YouTube.
echo, so you should be fine. Does he sound okay with y'all?
You're in YouTube now. In the StreamYard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, like we're looking at the chat log.
I don't hear no echo, so it sounds good. Thank you.
anyway,
Testing it out. Hello, Rick the Whirlwind. Hello, Chris. Thanks for coming in. Hello, Carlene. Hello, Blondie Karaoke. Good to see you. I want to purchase a copy of your latest book. Maybe we can see each other next Thursday. Well, I won't be home next Thursday, so I won't be able to go to karaoke, but maybe the following week, if that's okay with you.
yeah.
Welcome. And Charles picked out the name of this, Guns, Billionaires, and Bull. I'll let him explain why he chose this title.
Well,
How are you doing today, by the way?
I'm doing very well. Thank you very much. Hope you and everyone else are doing fine. We're listening in here. The guns is pretty much from the the international gun dealers we're going to cover. Ed Bentley Jr. Of course, you and I've had our stories about him and his partnerships with Jeff Epstein and Bernie Marcus, Eric Rudolph, Craig Manier, and John Ramsey, and of course others that we have covered previously. But pretty much just to give everyone a gist on what the case really involving Jeffrey Epstein and Eric Rudolph until they are very much connected. Um, um, I know that's probably going to be a shocker to some people who knew Eric Rudolph and his anti Semitic views. But these people that he, along with Ed Bentley and my brother Fred Rogers, and of course Robert Veach, and got involved with, are a lot of them are DoD contractors, like Ed Bentley Jr. Is the owner of Bentley Enterprises there in Marietta, Georgia,
And also
and he
the
has
Bentley
a federal
Farms.
firearms license as a gun dealer, and he was in partnership with Jeff Epstein in more than just dealing guns. Okay, international, gun dealers. He makes the silencers for the U.S. government used in, the military. Um, um, for the firearms, and that's where the professional silencers come from for our military. And of course, Jeff Epstein, that's where he made a lot of his wealth, was dealing in arms on an international basis. You'll go back and you'll find that he was dealing arms back during the Iran Contra affairs, back during the Reagan administration.
Didn't somebody else have a podcast recently showing this too as further proof?
Whitney Webb is this journalist, and she's covered a lot of stuff on the Epstein case, and she's really one of your more top journalists, investigative journalists. That's really knows her stuff and has dug in um, to a lot of this, and is out there exposing it as well.
Thank you, Whitney.
And of course, we got people like Candace Owens and others to keep digging in and keep finding more out. And so within about a week or two, some of this will start coming up, but they're still going to want to try to hide as many names as possible in this case, because the more of them who get busted and arrested, the more increases the chance that one of them's going to talk.
As we talked about it, different people that's been to Epstein Island not necessarily were sex traffickers, because that's where he also held business meetings at times.
Well, of course, and of course he had the reputation of the guy with the women. Ghislaine Maxwell wasn't his one and only. We can definitely establish that.
Just like he wasn't her one and only, because Eric Rudolph was the lover as well.
Well, correct. You can go to Hiawassee, Georgia, and you'll stumble across people that will remember seeing Rudolph and Maxwell having dinner with the Ramseys, many occasions in the local restaurants there.
And y'all got to
Yeah.
remember that Eric Rudolph was John Benet Ramsey's ski instructor.
That is correct. And so he was friends with the Ramseys, like, Ed Bentley Jr., Barney Marcus, Jeff Epstein, and of course, Craig Manier. They probably big buddies, knowing that type of mentality of devils.
Y'all know.
Craig.
Excuse me a minute. Y'all see the picture on the screen right here where it's Craig Manier right beside his big bird? Y'all see that?
Mm.
So the reason why I think Charles knows why I'm laughing, because the joke between it, because you look at the head and the neck of Big Bird and look at Craig Manier. That's Charles's joke right there, right?
Yes, ma'am. The another reason why I labeled him Big Bird is because his 6'3", almost 6'4" frame. Big mouth, but he can run. He can run faster than John Andrew, that's for sure. Because the day after I escaped my brother's automobile, they were going to take me out and get rid of me. There's no doubt in my mind, but I did escape. But I got out of him his motives for being what he stated was the privilege to monitor the garrote that murdered John Benet.
Who was that did that?
That's Craig Manier.
Whoa, seriously?
Seriously. See, Craig did not go to work for the Home Depot Corporation until around September the 19th of 1997, according to him.
Somebody gave you that information about that, because we know you were not there, and a lot of people probably speculate like the reason why I know so much about that is because he was there. No, people actually come and told you and confessed to it like that, and then they tried to set you up like you were there, but you were working.
Well, yeah, this is actually my case. I'm actually, the top investigator and official, whatever you want to call me, over the Oklahoma City and Centennial Park bombing case. They're the same case. So we're talking about the same people that is responsible for not only domestic terrorism, but international terrorism and human trafficking. I mean, that's what they do. They deal in guns, human beings, and they have their little death cult, who I call the Count Bibi Lachomo over there in Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu. A lot of Christians are starting to find out that the Zionist state of Israel is an imposter and apartheid state, is what we call modern day Pharisees. Because I've heard from Ron Brill himself and other of the original founding executives of the Home Depot Corporation that's their belief that and teach it. Jesus is in hell bullying human excrement. And, even the best Christians in their beliefs in the Talmud state that even the best of the Christians must die. So you can call anything what you want to call it, but it's really in actuality, when you look at the historical factors and the biblical factors, the scriptures and all, it's really a holy war is what it is. It's good versus evil. And right now they have the upper hand through the financial system in this country and the running of this government behind the scenes.
That is
That they're trying their dead level best to try to cover up this investigation, because if they don't, they're had. And these guys are billionaires. John Ramsey could sit there and scream that, he went broke and bankrupt over the speculation of his daughter's homicide all he wants to. But John Ramsey is a international terrorist, human trafficker, serial killer.
Yeah,
You name it.
everyone he threatened to kill right there, with Beth Ramsey, Matt Darrington, Beth Ramsey's friend, and he threatened to kill John Benet Ramsey on the anniversary of the time that he killed. He did tell you that he killed Joe Robinson too,
Well,
and
yes.
the rest of the people were laughing about that. His buddies were. I remember you saying that on some of the
Well, my buddies,
podcasts.
it was my brother's buddies and his buddies.
Okay,
Um,
that's
they
what I
were the
mean.
ones
His buddies,
laughing.
their buddies. Yeah.
Yeah, they weren't my buddies. It was
Yeah,
my
that's what I mean. I
brother,
mean
but
his buddies. That's what I mean. John's
yeah.
buddy.
But yeah,
And
Craig, according to Craig, he's distantly related to Jill Robinson.
oh my goodness.
I was told by John, I was there when Beth was told by John why he was going to kill John Benet, and, have us killed.
Yeah,
According to
since y'all
Craig,
saved the two boys.
he was the one who picked the date to murder John Benet because he was distant relative of Jill Robinson, and in order to get his revenge, he decided to join the death cult and was initiated in during the homicides of 8-year-old Stevie Branch, Michael Moore, and Christopher Byers.
That's all with the Oakland child murders, right?
No, ma'am, that's the West Memphis 3 homicides.
Okay, West Memphis 3. Okay, I get them all
Yes, ma'am.
mixed up. There's so many different.
Now, Jill Robinson was one of 4 victims of the Oakland County child murders. That's
Right.
why it's so easy for people just to go and do a Google search on the North Fox Island operations and find out that Jay Ramsey, John Benet's grandfather, was the one who helped Frank Sheldon get the funding and everything he needed, financing and all, to build his little resort over there and mini airstrip, because Jay Ramsey was he was the czar of the Michigan Aeronautics commission. And you didn't get a permit to build an airport unless J. Ramsey said you did. No matter how many politicians you knew, if you wanted a permit in Ohio, he was the one said whether you could get one or not. Nobody else. He was a decorated war hero as a pilot in World War II. And so, heroes, they normally get their rewards for, being heroes. Some of them keep their morals in check. Well, some of them don't. And that's the situation that we have with, J. Ramsey. James Dudley Ramsey was his name. And of course, Frank Sheldon, he became wanted by the FBI through his their shenanigans over there at the Brother Paul's summer camp, where they were sexually abusing boys. It was set up to where give troubled boys a place to where they could go and just relax. And they had these churches involved in it, priests, all kinds of people. It's just really disgusting when you sit here and you think of the backgrounds of these people. Sheldon from the Edsel, family of the, Edsel Motor Corporation there. And he was an heir to that. And he was a pilot in the Air National Guard. He was a flyboy, a developer builder. And of course, he faked his death on July the 9th, 1996, and New Amsterdam when he was on flight with Andrea Strassmeyer, Dave Holloway of the CIA, over the Oklahoma City bombing. So when he came back to Murphy, North Carolina, around the 10th of September of 1996, he was very much alive and came there to participate in setting me up and framing me for the fake attack of Oklahoma City and Centennial Park bomber Mike Cook's first rifle Ronda, because they anticipated getting me arrested there by the Cherokee County Sheriff, Jack Thompson. And they were going to have somebody in that jail kill me. So they thought. But I wound up running Eddie Hardin's 100% record of arrest after interrogations.
People look up here, they'll say that I got the FBI records of vault right here, Norfolk Island, Michigan pedophile ring. Where's that Francis Sheldon? Right here.
Well, that's how John became John, from his sick and twisted dad. According to what Beth Ramsey told me back in 1991. She and Matt had already learned about her dad and my brother and that bunch's plot to attack the Alfred P. Murray Federal Building in 1991. They were actually going to do it earlier. If it had not been for really me still being around, they would have done it right there, during the, first Bush administration. But they could just not get rid of me, so they finally waited and on the anniversary of the Waco siege there, and committed the attack on April 19th, 1995.
These same people also were responsible for the bombing at the Olympics and at the Home Depot building.
Well, yeah, they tried to blow up their own corporate headquarters. 203 employees who was working, even though Craig Manier didn't start his employment with the company until later that year, and around September the 19th, according to him.
Right.
He was in the store location there across the road from the original location of the corporate headquarters. They had already put the earnest money down on the property where the corporate headquarters is located today. When, of course, Eric Rudolph and his crew showed up and tried to hit it with another truck bomb. Fox Theaters implicated themselves in the Valentine's Day attempted bombing of their theater there in Atlanta that I wound up stopping with the help of Atlanta police. So you're talking a lot of the business elite, who do business in Atlanta, Georgia. I mean, you're
And
talking.
when Eric Rudolph was on the run kind of thing, there were people hiding him out also, wouldn't they?
Well, yes, ma'am. He would not have been able to invade the feds if it wasn't for people helping him, because nobody really knew of the stuff up there that went to school with him and saw him around. Really didn't know the magnitude of the activities that he and the others up there were involved in. You had three families, for example, up there for around the area of Topton and Robbinsville, who went to Six Flags on July the 4th, 1997. And they were going to hit Six Flags that day. They couldn't make up their mind if they were going to hit the Cumberland Mall first, or if I was going to have to jump into the vehicle with them and ride with them down to Six Flags, and they were just going to blow me up there when they, detonated 8 other explosives during the fireworks display.
Where was it at where Kenny Rogers was performing that he was going to try to bomb that they were going to try to bomb there and kill him too?
Well, they were originally going to hit Centennial Park on July 25th, 1996, during Kenny Rogers' performance. They already had the explosives already built, and 8 explosives in hopes of killing over 3,000 people, including the performer and his band himself. They were going to try to get as many backpacks up around the stage during his performance as they could, hoping to get up to 4 up there by the stage they could set off to kill as many people as they could.
Because a lot of people during the performance, they like to get right up very close to the stage too.
Yeah, you could tell a lone wolf operator, if he's going to set out explosives, he'll build him a backpack of explosives. He may take a hand grenade or 2 or something like that. And of course, gun and all that. But a lone wolf operative, he's not going to carry 8 explosives, by himself. And dang sure is not going to be able to go over by Cabbagetown and detonate them without someone coming out and seeing what was going on. So, and catching him. Only really a group of people have to do that. It takes more than one. So Rudolph wasn't even in Georgia the night of the Centennial Park attack, even though he constructed the explosives.
Right.
Him and his brother Daniel were up in the community of Hanging Dog, during that attack.
Didn't they
It was,
try to blame a security guard for the bombing at Centennial? That the one that
well,
tried to.
no, that was my doing.
Okay.
I needed to keep the media attention away from Murphy because that was one of their main goals was to get media attention toward Murphy, North Carolina, to where they was going to do all this and set off this hydrogen bomb and all of that with media attention so the whole world could see it. So I had to keep the media's attention diverted away from Murphy much as possible once they postponed the attack to my daughter's birthday, because that was the only condition that I would consider even trying to attempt something like this was if they decided to postpone the attack in 2 days and an attempt to set me up and frame me for it. So that's exactly what they did. And it's like I told the FBI, I would do it for the state of North Carolina. I would go in and handle it for the state, for Governor Jimmy Hunt.
The people
So
that
that's
don't know,
wound up happening. That's how I got commissioned by the governor's office of North Carolina over the investigation.
right? That's where you got it. When you can find where I found you were still on that list at being some kind of a governor of North Carolina,
Well, it's like you looked up there with the Rex
non-provisional, I think.
Harriman case, and they know that he had friends. They just don't want to sit there and name the list of his friends, because if or when they do, which I don't think they can, just like here in the Epstein case, they just can't go out here and release everything on the Epstein case without my written authorization, because it's really obstruction of justice. Nobody can really release anything on this without my personal oral or written permission. That's just the law. It's the same thing on those gag orders that was issued on the 57 employees of the General Motors assembly plants in metropolitan Atlanta, which was the Lakewood Parkway location that built pickup trucks, and the Doraville location that was assembling cutlasses and the Oldsmobile minivans at that time, when they tried to hit it twice in 1997. That's why General Motors had to lay off all 3,200 employees of that assembly plant.
Hey, Charles, hold on a minute. Some of the people that don't know you, that have been following you for a while, I need to reiterate that they kept trying to do this to Charles. Charles was not even 18 years old yet, okay? His brother was associated with these people, and they ended up saying some things on what they had done, and then they would try to harm Charles.
Well, and it really goes back further than that. It still goes back to Ed Bentley Jr. and his dad and his brother-in-law, Jim Stubbs. This goes back to when I was 6 or 7 years old. God's first attempt on my life on the account of Ed Bentley was in 1975, and he lost his brother-in-law, Jim Stubbs, on the account of it when he tried to kill me. And that's just a fact that they cannot hide. Why else would my dad move his family up to Morganton, Georgia from Marietta when he was one of the largest developer builders at that era, at that time? I mean, you're talking 86 miles away, tri-state area, Georgia, North Carolina, Tennessee, if it wasn't to protect me from the Bentley family and
Yes.
Jim Stubbs, because Jim's still buried there today. When my dad buried him, he buried him deep. And the son of the sheriff back then is sheriff today. Dwayne Kirby, the sheriff of Fannin County right now. But it was, Fannin County law enforcement who stopped the July 4th, 1997 attacks on Cumberland Mall and Six Flags, which also in return saved my life. So I'm always total grateful to the guys over there in Fannin County for that. Because they really and they it was either die trying to take those boys into custody or let them go. It's just that's the way it was with the truck bombing on June 19th when they Cooks, whom I'm accusing of engaging in that attempt with Eric Rudolph and Joey Davis, the anonymous caller to the Centennial Park attack.
What Joey Davis was?
Yes, ma'am. He was involved in that attack too. He was also involved in the June 3rd, 1997 attempted bombing of the Little League baseball game there in Ball Ground, Georgia. There in Cherokee County, Georgia. That I had to personally show up and stop. The case of Eric Kiss versus Officer P. Edmund Ehrenberg Summers Taylor is pending in the United States District Court in Atlanta, Georgia. Case number 1/25 /CV 01752. He has already gone to had today in that tort that he has filed against law enforcement here in Georgia. Since obstruction of justice was involved and false arrest and all that, he and I have another party at my house. He's gone ahead and filed his certificate, case of special public importance, as prescribed under, Georgia law for the RICO Act. I'm saying what that does is it compels the judge to go ahead. The clerk immediately take it to the judge, and the judge is really compelled to appoint a special judge and a special prosecutor. So anybody with PACER could pull this case up. It was filed today. He is.
I hope they get justice for that.
Well, he filed it with his motion for partial summary judgment, since the defendants have failed to produce any evidence at all, body cam footage, dash cam footage, or anything to support their claims of their deceptive incident report.
Was that the one where they showed up over there and then took y'all three and then they let the other two go? But they said we gotta.
Well, yeah, that's. I don't want to get too much into the details of that.
Yeah,
right
that's
now
why I did.
because
That's why I stopped right there.
It is involving other. It is involved in law enforcement at other county and jurisdictions. Of course, I mean, we cannot exclude Cobb County. Everybody knows that, because Cobb County, when you look at it, Marietta, Georgia, is what we call the black hole, the military industrial complex that I call the military prison and medical industrial complex. Is really the headquarters of what they call the deep state. Lockheed Martin, Dobbins Air Force Base, and Naval Air Station, and all that right there. And of course, Bentley Enterprises, Bentley and Bentley Law Group, started by Fred Bentley Sr., George Edward Bentley Sr.'s first cousin, we get a pretty good idea if those two, cousins were that way, that their dads were that way because their grandfather was that way. So, we're going back in the generational
And
issues here about how long this stuff has been going on in Cobb County, Georgia.
and remember, that's where John Ramsey was working when John Bonet was at Lockheed Martin, right?
Well, yes, ma'am. He always likes the people think about Boulder, Colorado, because if they start looking at Marietta, Georgia, then that's when they start noticing things. The Atlanta child murders.
Oh yeah.
um, the
But they
Bentley.
need to look into it because they said that they had to go to Atlanta or something like that, didn't they?
Well, yeah, they had. He don't want everybody knowing how many homes he owns.
Yeah,
He
he
wants to
owns
think,
one up there.
my only house was out there in Boulder, Boulder. Oh, well, and then it's like, oh, we have one in Atlanta. They you never hear them talk about the one in Michigan. Now they got one, and him and his new wife have one out in Utah. They had one over there in Lake Chattooga, but I think they sold it after Big Ray Duncan died and passed away, and his son sold his place there on Lake Chattooga. They had a house in Marietta. Him and Lucy did when they were together as first wife.
Yeah, a lot of people don't even know. Once I mentioned Melinda today, they said, "Who's that?" So a lot of people don't know that there was actually, Beth and Melinda, but a lot of people know John Andrew.
Yeah, well, it was noticed. Very little was ever said out of John Andrew until the recent years, and John Andrew, he is just as guilty of the homicides of his sisters, Beth and John Benet. And he's got the blood of both of his sisters on his hands. And this is what is so sick and twisted about these people, especially John Bennett Ramsey himself, is he'll sit there and allow that poor kid to go through that scrutiny. Now he's a young man, and John Ramsey is too much of a coward to jump up and say, "Well, okay, yeah, I have both my daughters murdered." He would much rather see, for the way I look at it, he would probably kill all of his children if he had to,
Because he's
in
done
order
killed
to
two.
maintain his secrets.
He's done killed two of the girls,
Well, yes, ma'am. And
and then the girlfriend, the boyfriend of Beth's also, and also Beth's best friend.
well, one of their best retail salesmen was Eric Robert Rudolph on the firearms, okay? Because Eric, what he would do, he, as an agent provocateur, he would go down to places like Pensacola, um, even while they were trying to chase me down there and kill me and protest against the abortion industry. Um, which a lot of us agree needed protesting. Um, but it was just a ruse. Him being pro life, thinking that he was doing God's will. It was all a bunch of crock. Being anti government, he was their best. He was their best retail salesman on their firearms. Eric Rudolph. Because he could sell the daylights out of some firearms to these militia groups. And he could go in there with my brother and their friends and all, and they could sit there and even sell an Eskimo how to sell a snow cone. Um, um, you know, free with a, price of building them a pipe bomb to blow up, someone in the government with.
Yeah,
So, they were, oh, we're going to go out here and fight this Jewish cabal, these Zionists and blah, blah, blah. Well, they were the cabal and the Zionists. That's the problem. Bernie Marcus, their plot with Arthur Blank, Ron Brill, Ken Langone, was to kill 203 of their own employees at the Home Depot corporate headquarters, June 19th, 1997. And of course, I personally showed up over there at the retail outlet there at Cumberland Boulevard and West Paces Ferry Road. And went in there and bought a little plastic funnel and went up to pay for it and had the cashier to call it in. And that's how I found out that my brother's best friend, Roger Nance, was involved. Because I had already been told by the cooks and Rudolph up in Murphy that I better not show up at that store that morning or I'd be shot out in the parking lot in front of customers. Well, I knew better than that. So I went anyway. Well, on my way in the door, that's when I stumbled across Roger on his way out. He had just left the meeting with the group over there in the contractor section. They all had them a meeting over there that morning. I met with Ken Langone in 1998 in a meeting with him, and also later Bernie Marcus there at the Atlanta Aquarium, which if I didn't bluff my way out of there, I wouldn't have made it out of there alive while it was under construction. They admitted to being involved in the Atlanta child murders. So they was going to blame the attack on homegrown white supremacist terrorists who targeted their Jewish business of the Home Depot because they're all former IDF. Marxist. Yeah, they were involved in the 6-Day War in 1967. That's how they got their free tickets from Israel to the United States to set up business and shop, where they were IDF, Israel Defense Forces.
Wow. So,
Les Wexner, if I'm not mistaken, Larry Fink, all of them, a lot of these guys went over there during the 6-Day War, wound up with these, top positions with major corporations, getting them started and stuff like that. It was their goal and ambition to accomplish what J.P. Morgan, John Rockefeller, and all those group of central bankers planned out over there at Jekyll Island in 1910. Still exists part of the plan today for their plan for their new world order. And it boils down to they do not care what form of government that we have as long as they're above the law.
Right.
as long as they don't have to face the sentences that the average working American has to face, cause they're in their own little clique,
Right.
they got their judges, they've got their senators, they got their members of Congress, their police officers involved with them, and you just don't know because you know that not all judges are bad judges, and I'd hate to think every judge in this country has ever done what Eric Rudolph described that they do, and what I've heard others say they do, and what you know.
And what you witness Judge McLaughlin do, right?
Well, I mean,
I
what
mean,
can I
before he
say?
was a judge, that is.
Yes, ma'am. Back when he was a law student, because you know, I'm not supposed to know that he started his job over there with a magistrate court. You know, um, just you know, within a week of my 18th birthday. But that's when when I met him over the Leighton Graphics, there by Tip Top Poetry. That was second time I had met him, because first time I met him, he was in the process of committing a homicide for the Bentleys and Bill Hudson, who was sheriff of Cobb County at the time, because it was his sister Ruby Elrod's brick mailbox that Judge McLaughlin chased that one boy's automobile into during that chase that I witnessed on the back of the I thought it was a race, two cars racing, and one just left the road and crashed into the mailbox. It didn't occur to me it was a chase with someone trying to kill the other. So that was my first encounter with Mike McLaughlin. And of course, my second encounter was, before my 18th birthday, the evening I met John Ramsey for the first time. Frank Floyd, as we covered before, was going by Bill Ramsey. And he was involved in some of the stuff. Same group, same people, Rex Harriman, Richard Avenitz, Matt, even John Wayne Gacy, who wasn't involved in the stuff in the case that I'm over, because he had already got caught. We already seen him in a picture with Rosalind Carter.
Yeah, I got to find that picture right quick. Hold on a minute. So I'll try to find that, bring that up right quick.
So,
do you have anything to say with what Rita Whirlwind said?
About who says? Oh.
John Ramsey, I hope he stays out of North Carolina. And it ain't just him you got to worry about. That's what I was thinking. There's a lot more that's over there in North Carolina that you got to worry about. That's his friends, that's his buddy, that's his associates to doing these crimes.
Well,
there's John Wayne Gacy with Rosalind Carter right here.
What's going to wind up happening if the government and the courts don't start moving on this and allow me to finish my job? What's going to wind up happening is the group over there who was involved with Eric Rudolph and them in this mess, they're going to wind up laying out bodies later. They're going to wind up dead one morning.
Yeah,
and
you
of
wouldn't have to
course,
worry about justice.
investigations will have to continue go forward, but nobody's going to say a word about who did it.
Right.
They're never going to know who did it.
to be so bad about it is nobody's going to really know. And I wish to gosh that they have to pay the same kind of repercussions as these other sex offenders that are going out there. Some of them serving life sentences, and like you said, you want to start some coalitions, mainly starting out in North Carolina. Then other people starting out the coalitions in their towns and their surrounding areas, so we can get this vastly taken care of. Speaking up for children, even more so.
Well, yeah, the coalition children is to be a independent, unified organization. In other words, each chapter um, controls its own fundraising, funding, counting, and all of that. You know,
Right,
not one person over the entire thing is in charge. I'm sorry. I'm
right.
just not a huge fan of a lot of these 501c nonprofit organizations because when when I see something done, I like to see at least 50% of the money raised going toward the cause instead of 10, I mean 20%, maybe less. Because that's what a lot of people don't realize, and that's how a lot of these what we so forth call philanthropists, they like to call themselves. It's their way of really, you know, laundering money. I mean, it
Oh yeah.
makes it look like they're really care about their community and all that when they really don't care about nobody at all but themselves. And
And
these foundations and stuff like that. Now, don't get me wrong, there's some good people out there that started a foundation and did some good things. But as we can see, we got our share of them that's done some very bad things and set up their foundations to do some good things. Okay. As in parents are doing good things, but these people, you wouldn't want to trust around any of your children or grandchildren because some of these people have proven you cannot trust them around a little girl, nor can you trust them around a little boy. I mean, it's
yeah,
just that sick.
I am taking. Well, today I finished the courses in that college. About human trafficking, and like the biggest thing that was to showing me, which that don't surprise me any, right? Because I'm hearing all these people that wants these little boys that's higher up. They keep wanting these boys for trafficking and doing these things too. Every time you turn around, you hear more about the boys that they're after than more so than the girls. And it's I think it's about halfway, if not more, depending on whatever. It's just depending on.
Well, I was reading what Rick the Whirlwind said that they hope John Ramsey stays out of North Carolina. I agree 100% with him. If I had my say in the matter, I would have the state of Georgia reopen the Georgia State Prison over there, and trying to think the name of the town, but it was the prison where they sent all the people with mental issues, and the conditions of confinement and the abuse that the prisoners went through. They wound up shutting it down. Well, I think it needs to be reopened, and that's what these people have to deal with. Is the same kind of staff that those prisoners had to deal with. So yeah, I'd like to keep them out of North Carolina too. When I go back
And we
up,
need to get all of them back out of there, like the cooks and the McRae's and all them out of there, right? But just don't
well,
send
Eric
back
Rudolph
to
wasn't
real
from
people
there.
either.
He was a transplant from Florida, and I got family in North Carolina. I have family in all up through Cherokee, Bryson City, down through um, um, Ducktown, Turtletown, Tennessee, down to Marietta, and some out in Alabama that's gotten out of Georgia. Because a lot of my family said screw Georgia, and you can't blame them because
Oh,
what they find out about the scum that runs Cobb County. I mean, just pure, scum. I mean,
and not only that, the gridiron,
well, yeah, um, you know, um, even some of the members of the gridiron ain't engaged in a lot of this conduct these people have engaged in, you know, for years, and these people still engage in this type of conduct. They don't intend to stop until, they are stopped. They will never stop until they're stopped. Jeff
what was
Epstein never would have stopped if he wasn't stopped.
what
Eric
state,
Rudolph wouldn't have ever stopped, um, until he was stopped. And it's the same thing for the rest of them. Their ultimate goal is to be able to die from natural causes, because to them, the one with the most toys wins.
right?
And he was able to die fooling everybody else around him. It's like this sick and twisted ego trip that these people have. And they'll say anything about anyone, um, and they'll all swear up and down that it's the truth about this person or that, another person, whoever they want to smear and lie about and frame and set up and send to prison.
Would you,
Um,
which project was it when they went after Epstein? Which one of those that you had started?
well, that was Operation Long Whine. It ran from 2005 until 2007. And what it was during the coalition helped form the Coalition for Children. In 2005, we rallied at the Marietta Square at the courthouses and later at the state capitol to get the death penalty passed for child rape under 1664 Georgia Code and adoption of Megan's Law. I cannot remember the citation of that one that's on the book. We got both bills, 106 and 188, passed into law. We did get the death penalty, but the Supreme Court has ruled that you can't, death penalty cannot be ruled in non-homicide cases. But they can still receive, up to a life sentence, and they cannot, spend no less than 25 years from, uh, the date of incarceration.
And I
They
want to
cannot be
remind people,
probated, suspended, nor paroled. A judge that doesn't have the authority to suspend the sentence or modify the sentence, it is what it is. They have to do 25 years to the door once incarcerated.
I want to
And that's
remind,
what a lot of states are going to start going with. North Carolina's next. A lot of states are already following suit, and they're wanting to get past the Supreme Court decision on the death penalty for
right?
child rapists, and they're going to get it. And when you look at these pictures here, the only one here that is not a suspect, which of course, Bernie Marcus,
He's deceased.
he passed away. So for all I know, he's, where we know where people like that goes. And of course, the bull right there, um, you know, I don't think he's a child murderer. Over there on the far left is Big Bird. We know he's not harmed children, but the reason that I call Craig Meniere's Big Bird is because when, the day after hearing him, admit to his roles in, you know, John Benet Ramsey and Levi Frady's homicides, um, they wound up hiring these guys to watch me at the hospital because my daddy was dying in the ICU. And believe it or not, they wound up hiring 2 guys to watch me. And you won't believe what they told these guys that I had done
What?
for them to watch me. I had supposedly stolen $3,500 worth of merchandise from some guy, and he was a marijuana dealer. And I turned around and got him busted by the police. So they were wanting to follow me when I left the hospital and tried to locate the goods that I had stolen so they could go and retrieve them back and sell them and maybe bond their buddy out of prison. That's what these guys were told. But they had worked at a convenience store there on Buford Highway, and I think it's Chambly Dunwoody Road that's got this extra retail spot in it. Well, they was working on that retail spot, remodeling it, when the terrorists tried to hit all those targets over there on the Buford Highway corridor, March 11, 97, which even Mr. Kiss is a witness in.
Hi, Eric.
And
Right there.
they had placed a backpack explosives out by the dumpster where these guys were working, which was retrieved by the police. So they hired them, believe it or not, to watch me at Piedmont Hospital under that lie, under that false impression.
Right.
This is how stupid they are. Of course, I waited for the guys to get out of their vehicles and come in to the lobby to get their refreshments that afternoon when I confronted them. And I almost had to drop one of them because he kept wanting to grab for his gun inside his sport coat, cowboy guy. But they didn't like being called pedophiles. And I was like, "Oh, you're not pedophiles? Well, what are you doing here watching me?" "Well, we're watching you. We're watching you for your older brother and others, because you're a doggone informant." Informant? Oh, who told you that? Pedophiles? You mean you're calling your brother Fred and Roger Nance and all them pedophiles? Well, yeah. So you're a pedophile? No, I ain't no pedophile. Well, what are you doing here watching me? You'll be surprised a lot of people in Georgia that don't like pedophiles or aren't pedophiles and that they would hire to come after me. I mean,
That's the
instead,
only way for them to go after you is for them to lie like that.
yeah. So, no cowboy, he was like, and so he's like, um, well, how do you know they're pedophiles? I said, well, I'll just put it like this. I became a witness to the Atlanta child murders back when I was 16 years old. So I said, I don't know about that big old tall Craig guy last night. He was like, Craig Meniere. I'm like, yeah. But, they're the ones who were responsible for the murder of John Benet Ramsey. Oh, really? And who told you this? Well, Craig Meniere did. Craig told you that? Yeah. So here he goes. Well, I'm going to go have a talk with him. I said, yeah, do that. Do me a favor while you're at it. And he was like, "What's that?" When you go have a talk with him, tell him I said he don't have a hair on his ass if you don't come over here and show up and fight me like a man. And they all three smirked. They thought I was being stupid because this guy's, he's a good sized guy, over 6'3". Went to the gym. We're all ripped up and cut. He was about as big as that wrestler up there, Murphy, in '99 that they showed up, put on that big show, and he wound up running off when I charged him. So Craig wound up doing the same thing. Well, I didn't want to take the big chicken there in Marietta, Kentucky Fried Chicken. That big chicken is landmark. That's the mascot for the sheriff of Cobb County. So I can't call Craig the big chicken. So I just call him Big Bird. But
Could I remind people though also that when you did Long One, they had asked you who you wanted to go after first for the pedophilia or whatever, and you
well,
had
it
said
was
John
who was
Ramsey,
I got to pick one person that was tied in with Eric Rudolph.
right?
And
And you said John Ramsey, and they
well,
said that he
first
was
pick was Ed Bentley Jr.
okay.
And they was like, "Well, we're not going to do nothing else." What do you mean? This I'm having to deal with this guy all my life. So if that's the case, then John Ramsey. No, we can't touch him either. And I was like, "Well, what about that Jeffrey guy that used to hang out with that Ghislaine woman up there on Lake Chattooga in '96? Oh, you talking Jeff Epstein? Yeah. Weapons dealer? Yeah, that's Jeff Epstein. Ghislaine Maxwell. Yeah." I said, go ahead and pick him up then. Well, we do have some cases on him in Florida that are pending that we could get arrested on, but the only thing they're going to do is slap him on the wrist and let him go. I said, well, if the DOJ is going to do that, that's exactly what I need it to do. And he goes, why's that? So they go in there and they slap him on the wrist, and he doesn't serve hardly any time in jail. Eventually, word is going to get out. It's going to slowly spread, then all of a sudden it's going to spread like wildfire. Then people are going to want to start knowing, are going to want some answers about this. Why is this international firearms dealer getting away with, trafficking underage women? I said, that'll make it a whole lot easier on my supporters and myself in getting my job finished for the people of the state of North Carolina when I go back to finish my job. So that's why they picked up Jeff Epstein.
That's kind of weird. That's kind of weird. I just now realized that where I put the gun looks like it's pointing right at Epstein.
Yeah. I don't think I don't know if that pistol's killed any children or not, but we can establish Big Bird hadn't, and we really Big Bird. I'm sorry that I had to put you in there, but I hope you understand. But
The resemblance is uncanny.
and the Schlitz Malt Liquor Bull, well, I don't know. He could have been a contributing factor. I don't know, but
He might not be. We heard he might not be.
Well, a lot of people don't think that Jeffrey Epstein's dead. From what I understand, he's probably what we call witness protection. He would have to be, because he wouldn't be able to be in a jail or a prison without someone getting to him.
That could be why some of the people are getting caught today.
Well, during Operation Long Wine, there was a lot of children rescued, around 108 as young as 7 years of age from 2005 to 2007.
What area?
From New York out to LA, Atlanta, Georgia, I mean, Texas, I mean, and a lot of people, it was like, if I remember correctly, around 500, 600 arrests. But that also involved drug trafficking. But it wasn't the drug trafficking that launched Operation Long Wine. It's just during the rallies in 2005 there in Marietta. Um, this stepdad of this repeat runaway, 13-year-old runaway, who kept a diary, was encouraged by two of my fellow coalition members to turn her diary over to me, that I would get something done about it. And that's how I wound up with her diary, was because, this guy found out that I would get something done. It was one of my ambitions, was to get those two to help me get evidence to get so many children rescued that nobody would want to look at one of them's, involvement in this organization over the Oklahoma City bombing. Told him if he could, I would probably wind up getting him immunity if he helped me rescue, you know, you know, maybe not quite double the lives that was lost out in Oklahoma City and Centennial Park, but if he could help me save more children, I would see what he could do, and that's what he wound up doing. He became um, co-founder of the Coalition for Children. I didn't kill him for stalking my mother in May of 2000, and it flipped him over to my side. And come to find out, he was there in Cumming, Georgia, that afternoon that Mr. Kiss and I was almost executed by Jeff Cook and Eric Rudolph. So it worked out good. He voted in favor of sparing our lives, so it's a good thing I didn't kill him that afternoon for stalking my mother. And he was like so many other people that had been lied to, told all this crap. He's the main reason why I wound up with Candace's diary, because he took me out there to visit with Beth Ramsey's grave. Um, I wanted to do that kind of like monumental, since we were going to start the rallies at the Marietta Square, just to go out there and visit with her grave.
Was that the
When,
time when they wouldn't let you go and do that? Did they try to accuse you of messing with Beth's
yeah,
grave?
Ed Bentley Jr. Yeah, he showed up. See, he was security. He was chief of security for Cobb County for FEMA, right?
Uh-huh.
So he come over there with three city of Marietta cops in tactical gear, and
Right.
sitting out there and falsely accused me of vandalizing this one grave that had been vandalized before he even got there. John sat out there and witnessed this. He sat there and watched me go in and walk out without doing anything. He said
Yeah.
he's the one that took me there, and he
Right.
knows that. He knows every one of these people. And when he sat there and saw that, and saw them come up there and ban me from, from that cemetery, St. James Episcopal Cemetery there in Marietta. They're actually built fairly close to the old Marietta High School, where I used to attend the junior achievement program with Lockheed at the time before it became Lockheed Martin. And I didn't go to high school at Marietta. I went to the high schools I went to in Cobb County was Spalding, Lassiter, and Sprayberry. And a lot of people from the area will tell you back in the day, Sprayberry um, crossing everybody in East Cobb in that area was a pretty rough area. It was the roughest area in the metropolitan Atlanta at the time when I grew up. So, um, I have that reputation over there as a, fighter, um, along with a lot of the boys over there with the reputations of being fighters, because that's the area I grew up in. Bentley, because his brother-in-law was killed in 1975 for trying to kill me over the stuff they tried to do with me and Jim's daughter in 1972 and 73. Um, would pay these kids $5 to fight me, and if they beat me up, they'd get an additional $20. So I was consistently getting in fights once we moved back down to Marietta from Morganton. And
I'm going to show you which one of the people, really makes me sick when I look at the picture. This one right there.
oh yeah, the keeper of the crypt.
Yeah, he really makes me sick at my stomach seeing him.
Yeah, I had one of these ladies over there on Telegram, um, in the Travelers Spreads Truth Patriot group for him. She said he looked like the keeper of the crypt.
Huh. And this one
That
right
was
here is
Fred
your brother
Bentley
right here.
Sr. That is Fred Bentley Sr., Bentley and Bentley Law Group. He was the attorney that represented Jim Stubbs in 1973 that got him released from custody in 60 days. That forced my dad to have to relocate our family to Fannin County to avoid me getting killed by Mr. Stubbs.
Yeah, I had seen this right here, Chris, where the girl went to the dad had took off with a daughter, and he kept sleeping with her, and she was pregnant, and she went to a Walmart bathroom where she ended up giving birth and then stillborn. She was the daddy was trying to get her to Mexico to do an abortion.
Wow.
I'm not mistaken on that.
You know, and, that could have happened with John and Beth Ramsey if Beth had never told her mother, and could have wound up with the death of her mother. There's just no telling what directions this could have gone with John Ramsey, if Beth didn't speak up when she was being sexually abused by him. And bless her heart, she had contemplated, she got on drugs and attempted suicide, totally wrecked her life. And Matt, he went to high school with her, and they, kind of like friends. And he got concerned for her, and he went in and he jumped in. He was her knight in shining armor, and he pulled her through it, and he helped her get the counseling that she needed, the help that she needed to help get past the suicidal stage.
Okay,
But
Chris.
they already knew. They had already heard the conversations. They didn't understand how 1974 I knew to go accuse Mike Cook, of going to attack that building, but they knew who the Cooks were. Um, or at least she did. I don't know as much as Matt did, but she knew who I was talking about.
I need to go back and listen to a lot of Charles's. Y'all that don't know a lot of his story, please go back and listen to all of the ones he pre-recorded. We already recorded before, because there's some world information on there on when Beth went looking for Charles and the reason why she went looking for Charles and such and such. There's a lot of information in the past videos. You see what
Well,
Reap? You see what Reap just put? Sometimes I think the evil shows that the older people get. Pierre Trudeau was a pedophile and he looked absolutely creepy in his later years, like Nosferatu?
hmm
Nosferatu?
hmm well, I don't think time's done John Ramsey any justice.
Yeah, you see the picture. That's one of his latest, like a year or two ago.
But he got Beth back all right for trying to adopt, get them busted, and so her and Matt could adopt John Bonet. He not only killed her, he killed John Bonet to get her back for it. So you know, I
Not
always, I
only that,
always, I
that ain't
always
the only
encourage
reason though.
people
Remember,
um,
remember
who
Charles? That's not the only reason. He said that he would do that so that he could end up, like he's Satan himself, and he'll be doing their spirits forever or whatever.
mhm. Well, see, people like Bert, you know, bless his heart, the hell that he has had to endure all these
Right?
years after his sister's murder. You know, I feel his pain. I know how it is to be falsely accused of something that you had nothing to do with, you had no control over. I've been through it myself, so I feel his pain.
Even if he would know
Um,
something, he can't tell, because it's a wide array that he'll be killed too.
well, John told Dr. Phil that he was not going to do any more interviews with the media until I came out and came forward there and started putting information out in 2018. And I got to put so much out that not only has he come back out to the media, he's brought that ratty little son, John Andrew, with
Right.
him. Okay, they both have come out into the view to the media now. So that in itself should be a sign to everybody what we're working on.
What about
Um,
what about that Facebook group that was for John Bonet, and they are a part of that group, right? And you remember the pictures that they were showing, like the Amber girl that was found dead and I guess dead in the ditch and stuff, and then they show a picture of that Amber girl being in the vehicle with somebody, and you said that looks a lot like John, how John would be in
yeah,
Texas.
with a cowboy
Uh,
hat.
yeah, with a
Yeah.
cowboy hat, he'll fit in right away, and it's like I thought nobody had pictures to see what vehicle she was in. So how would they have the pictures unless it was them themselves, right?
Yeah. Well, it's like, Judge McLaughlin, during that raid at my house in 2013, at that point, they knew if they went over there and killed me and my wife, it caused an international incident. So a lot of their colleagues told them, just go over there, give them an injection, and just be done with it. They'll forget it. They'll have no memory of this and that. Well, they come to find out I'd already had that injection back when I was 10 years old to get past the trauma of having a gun pointed at my head at 9 years of age by Jim Stubbs.
Wow.
And I was told by the psychiatrist that my dad took me to because my grades were starting to kind of fell a little bit. I was like top student in my class, my school.
Right.
I think my lowest grade was a B plus. And but after that incident, going back to school the following year and everybody knowing that this guy had been killed on our ranch over there and full of questions and all that because word had spread throughout the community, but none of my classmates were able to see me till we went back to school, and it took its toll out. My grades started dropping down to C's. I think I got a low as D. And he's like, we can't be having this. We're going to have to go get him some treatment. So I was told by the psychiatrist that in the future, if they ever gave me an injection like that again, it wouldn't really serve any good. You have to have, when you have one, yeah, it's a very, very effective drug. It's a very excellent for, combat veterans because it causes them to forget you know, um, the trauma they suffer from experiencing combat. You know, um, they don't think about it. So it's a needed drug, but in their MK Ultra program, it's also very effective to causing witnesses to forget things. Um,
Wow.
you know, you talk about these cases, there's no telling how many families these people have ever gone in and raided, did whatever they wanted to with children and parents and gave them these injections, and the family would wake up the next morning and not remember a doggone thing about it, because that's how
Right.
these drugs work. And they don't play fair, and you can't expect them to. But when Donald Trump jumps up and he says, well, there's nothing to the Epstein files, well, you know, this is part of the Epstein files, this right here, because it's all tied in with Ed Bentley Jr., Eric Rudolph, and these terrorists. It's what they are. They, some of them are, raised in Christian families, and some of them were raised in Jewish families. But I'm not convinced that there wasn't black people down there at the Chattahoochee River that night that I went down there, because all I could see in the darker areas was, lots of figures, and I couldn't see their faces.
Right.
But I know who I saw down there. I was able later to identify as Ron Burrell, Bernie Marcus, and Ted Turner. And of course Red Bentley Jr.
And
And of
some of them
course,
have be so brazen that they're bragging about it.
well, yeah, there's some, you know,
And even Craig Madeira had told you that I'm not as impressed as I, was about what you just did with this other thing as I am about over there at the Chattahoochee, right?
what's that?
I mean, he said was not as impressed with what you had done, but when you, except for over there, what that day when you tried to try to help the brother and all out, right?
Yeah. He wasn't near as impressed with me stopping the truck bomb of their corporate headquarters as he was walking down there to the Chattahoochee that night, demanding the safe return of my brother and bluffing my way out of there the way I did.
Yeah,
Because I was 16 years old. And, that took a lot of guts. I mean,
yeah,
and it was like, Kiss asked me the other day, he goes, you know, and so you went down there? Yeah. Well, if you had your brother or one of your brothers, would you have gone down there? Well, yeah, I would have. And I did. And I bluffed my way out. And that was another reason to make me a target because, of course, who did I run across down there? My cousin Robert Veach and Ed Bentley Jr.
and like
And
I told, hold on a minute, like I told, like he knows that there's some things that he cannot expose, and yet if he does expose that who all went to Epstein Island, yeah, he might have been part of a business and was over there, because they were. He did also have business things over there too. You know what I'm saying?
Well, yes, and
And so
with this whole,
if that Epstein list was unlocked and if his name was on there, they're gonna automatically say he's a pedophile. He was in with that. Like I said, there's business things that's over there too that he didn't
well,
have kids doing that all the time. Okay, sometimes it was just business.
well, see, what a lot of people don't realize is, they think that Israel, okay, is a form of a democracy, and it's nothing but a safe haven for pedophiles and homosexuals.
That's
Um,
not the true Israel people.
I mean, Tel Aviv, I think it was on the top list of the capitals of homosexuality until Iran went out there and struck it. I don't know how many gay bars got blown up, but I imagine they lost a lot of IDF. Um, but it's all, if you're a pedophile and, you can go to Israel and get, um, you know, and be protected from deportation for criminal prosecution. You could become an Israeli citizen if you're a Muslim or if you're Jewish or atheist, homosexual. But if you're a self-professing Christian, you can never become an Israel citizen
Yeah.
unless you marry a Israeli citizen and get naturalized like that. And they're probably not going to want to allow that either if you're a Christian.
I see a lot of people don't realize they just want the Epstein list for the sexual thing, right? For the sex trafficking. They're not realizing the vast majority of what other information is out there that other cases is probably we cannot get it out there because look, here's these terrorists, right?
Hmm.
So it's like y'all need to stop about that. There's you know I could understand him saying all that.
Well,
Because
yes,
when it's a lot bigger, you don't need all these people all of a sudden going and ruining the cases about trying to catch these terrorists out there that's on the Epstein list, right?
right.
So it's like, why would he not? He can't divulge all that. People's got to understand that,
Hmm.
because this is a
Well,
wide array of, weaponry,
well,
child murders, all kind of different stuff.
once the people hear it, the testimonies of the other witnesses, some of those employees of the General Motors assembly plants, some of those attendants of the Little League baseball game in Ball Ground, Georgia.
Yeah, they
Um,
were shocked when you said, what's that? When they asked you, right? I said, "What's that? What are they doing over there?" You said, "Oh, they're building
well, yeah,
bombs. Hit
the
bombs."
spectators are wondering why Joey Davis and Jeff Cook were sitting over there getting mad at me for showing up. It was a baseball game. Anybody's supposed to be able to show up at a baseball game and sit there and watch the kids play baseball without anybody saying a word.
Right.
And I was told I'd be shot if I showed up, but I'd much rather been shot than, wake up to the news a bunch of kids got killed, you know, playing baseball at a game one night. I could have stopped. So I showed up, so I'm standing out. I don't know who to go to and talk, or who to say what. And so I just walked over there when showed up, and Joey and Jeff was like, "Well, you're not supposed to. We told you not to come here." Blah, blah, blah. I didn't say a word to anybody. I just went over there and ignored them and started watching the game and looking around to see if I could spot anyone. And yeah, Eric Rudolph was walking out, past first base, um, outside of it, and walking over and was kneeling on the ground when this one guy that was standing close to me, He goes, what these guys' problem with you showing up at this game? I said, because they're here about to set a bomb off. A bomb? I said, yeah, see that one over there kneeling on the ground? Yeah. I said, he's over there attaching the detonator right now. All of a sudden, we're both screaming bomb. So, yeah, there was explosives recovered by the Cherokee County Sheriff's Department.
A lot of people remember that too.
There was 90, I'm going to say 92 instead of 96. That way people won't think I'm trying to exaggerate. So I'm going to stick with 92, the explosives that were
Amen.
retrieved from these baseball fields for Little League and elementary school baseball games from counties throughout the tri-state area, Tennessee, North Carolina, and Georgia. Even explosives have been put out in the baseball fields of Murphy, Marble, and Andrews, Robbinsville, and Cherokee. They're in North Carolina. So they didn't care if they knew some of the people they were going to kill their children. If they was not going to support their cause to overthrow this government that we had, right? You got to remember, these are supposed to be the people against the government. Well, okay. They're the ones that are in control of it. So the name of the game is Order Out of Chaos. Start all these terrorist attacks, pin them on various ethnic groups, militia groups, including there in Western North Carolina. They had hoped that the Centennial Park attack would have drawn attention to Murphy immediately. That's what they had hoped for. And the only solution, once they did that, after my meeting with the feds down there in Pace, Florida on July the 15th, once they postponed that attack to my daughter's birthday and would be a sign to me that they was going to try to set me up and frame me for the attack, which of course they did. They tried to set me up and frame me for the homicide of Levi Frady. Of course, they tried to say that I was out in Boulder when John Bonet was murdered, but there's plenty of people in Murphy, North Carolina today could say, well, that was a lie. He was in Murphy washing dishes at Waffle King the following morning from her death. So can't be in two places at the same time or even flying a Learjet that quick, I don't think. And still be able to make it back to Murphy that quick, you know, it's just been.
It's like they tried to blame you that time about hurting that lady too.
Well,
And,
yeah, that was. Well, yeah, that's. But you know, I was up there at the courthouse in Murphy here a while back, and two deputies over there working. The assistant DA too busy to even talk with me, and I went down there and I asked him. I said, "Oh, Eddie Hardin still working as a bailiff?" Yeah, Eddie's a good man. Okay, I didn't say anything. I said, "Oh, Mark Thigpen still come up here much anymore?" "Oh, he comes up here every now and then." I was like, yeah, I still don't think Motorola or any other big tech companies out here has been able to develop and engineer a device that could read a tag number over 120 miles away like he was able to do there back in 97.
Yeah.
And that one deputy, he just looked at me real funny. Other guy, he didn't know what I was talking about.
Right.
Writing my tag number on the morning of September 11th of 1996. That was supposed to be my 9/11, you know.
Right.
They're going to set me up for a fake attack of Rhonda Cook. And here I was down in College Park, Georgia, cleaning upholstery for Easy Rental.
Yeah, that guy said he saw your
Pickup truck, ran my tag number.
yeah, very good eyesight, ain't it? When it's so far away,
Yeah.
huh?
Yeah, it was
Not
120
even in that area.
parked in a parking lot 120 miles away.
I tell
Really,
you what, he must have
probably
eagle
over
eyes or something.
probably over 120 miles away, to be honest with you. Probably around 130, 140 miles away. I mean, but still, College Park, Georgia, from the community of Ranger, North Carolina, is a pretty good distance.
Well,
But
I've got to call it a quits because I got a Bible study I'm supposed to start in about 5 minutes.
well, I just want to end this off. These are my accusations. All parties who are still alive are presumed innocent until proven guilty in the court of law. There's going to be we're about to start posting new evidence and new documentations on social media, probably over there on Telegram with the Traveler Spreads Truth Patriot group, and so the documents can be viewed over there. We're
What is the name of that Telegram group again?
Traveler Spreads Truth Patriot.
Okay.
And, you remember I did the same type of interviews over there in that group that I did with you on your channel.
Right.
So if anybody wants curious about consistency, well, everybody up there in Murphy that you know knows me and likes me and all that, love you people too. They know about this, and I can't wait to get up and get in touch with some of my buddies. Kind of grew up with up there in that region because, yeah, you know, we're all just blessed that God intervened in this and was able to use not only myself, but some of the on kin folks, some of the Cook's on kin folks against them. They're
Right.
the ones that had the 263-pound hydrogen bomb, had it set to detonate and all of that. And they were like family to Zell Miller.
Yes.
Going up there across the creek from him. They were like, family with the Millers.
Right.
So you're talking a former Georgia governor, former U.S. senator, and all of his cronies that, either were complicit or had knowledge of the stuff. The ones that really weren't that involved, they have a chance. They want to clear their names of any all criminal wrongdoing, as long as it's not too terrible. They can reach out, and we will work with them. We already got an overcrowded prison system as it is, and we got some nonviolent offenders taking up spaces that we need to be putting these type of violent offenders in.
Exactly.
We got issues with peace officers, police officers that we're going to have to transition to work more in a reasonable standard than what they're operating under for the sake of the the system that we do have.
But Charles, I hope that I get to interview you again soon, and I better cut this off and go there to the Bible study.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you for having me on, and I hope everyone else have a wonderful day. And you're very much welcome. Reap the whirlwind, and every one of you that that I've helped answer your question. It's been a hard fight. Um, once a story comes out about my life one day, you'll see why I'm still alive. It's I'm just blessed. So,
Amen to that.
everybody have a wonderful weekend, and I'll chat with you later.
Okay,
Miss
love
Ray.
and appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Goodbye.